I did a short video a short while ago, and since then I've successfully given blood. I'm rather pleased with myself, and someone has asked me to give more details about the rise of populism in ancient Rome, and how the Roman concept still echoes today in the populism of figures like Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, arguably, alongside alongside the rise of Brexit, which is not so dissimilar really from the sort of chaos that was unleashed in ancient Rome by the populari, or by the populares, and today, I suppose Brexit is a direct result of that movement in of populism over democracy. And I pointed out earlier, you can't really tell which is which except with hindsight. So if we begin with the crumbling chambers of the Roman Republic, where the very words populares, meaning those who courted the favour of the people, it was not so much a political ideology as a tactic. It was a tactic for bypassing the authority of the Senate and appealing directly to the Roman masses. And like many tactics that flirt with democracy but don't marry it, it became the weapon of choice for men of great ambition. In Domina, this wonderful TV series, the political climate after Julius Caesar's assassination, is dramatised with gripping clarity, where Livia Drusilla, who you may know from I, Claudius, the wife of Augustus, moves through a world shaped by the collapse of the Republic and the rise of imperial populism, and she lives among its wreckage, a world already hollowed out by men who claim to serve the people, but ultimately serve themselves. And the rot had set in long before Caesar. The Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, were among the first to harness the ratio popularis, bypassing the Senate to pass land reform directly through the popular assemblies. Tiberius wanted to limit the aristocratic estates and redistribute land to the poor, and for this crime against oligarchy he was clubbed to death in 133 BC by a mob of senators, literally beaten with chairs. And Gaius followed a decade later with broader reforms, grain subsidies, citizenship expansion, and judicial restructuring. He too died in a bloodbath, his corpse discarded like a traitor's, but actually all the things that he was promoting are things that actually occurred in the end. Violence once introduced never left. Then came Gaius Marius, who's one of my great favourites, 7 times consul, and he professionalised the Roman army, recruiting the landless and binding them to his personal command. The Republic would never recover from this shift. The legions no longer fought for Rome, they fought for their general. And Marius' rival with Sulla led to civil war and purges, and the stakes of populares politics had grown deadly. There were killings on both sides in the forum. Publius Clodius Pulcher is a wonderful character, a demagogue who lowered grain prices, handed out free bread, and stirred up mob violence. He pandered shamelessly to the urban plebs, turning the streets into battlegrounds. He died in a gang clash, his body cremated on the floor of the Senate House, set alight by his followers using the furniture as kindling, and Rome by then was quite literally burning. And then Julius Caesar, the man who perfected the art of popular politics. He used the tribunate, the masses, and spectacle. He redistributed land, reduced debts, expanded the Senate with his loyalists, and showered the public with games and largesse. But behind the benevolence lay ambition, and he was named Dictator Perpetuo in 44 BC. And Rome's enemies called it tyranny, his followers called it necessity, and when the knives fell in the theatre of Pompey, it was too late. The Republic had already fallen. Now, why should this matter to us? Because the populares, those ancient architects of public flattery, have their heirs in today's populists. Farage with his pint and cigarette, Boris Johnson with his tousled hair and faux Churchillian charm. Both have cast themselves as tribunes of the people against the out-of-touch elite. Both have claimed to speak for the will of the people, as if that phrase had any stable meaning. Brexit was not a policy, it was a plebiscite used as a bludgeon. Like Caesar crossing the Rubicon, the Brexit referendum crossed a constitutional line. Once the mob was summoned, it could not be dismissed. Parliament, like the Roman Senate, became an inconvenience. Remember Boris unlawfully proroguing Parliament, or Farage campaigning outside Westminster in a fishing boat, mocking the traitors within? This is Populares politics reborn, not in toga but in tabloid headlines. And here lies the tragedy. In ancient Rome, the Populares claimed to restore liberty. They delivered monarchy. Caesar gave way to Augustus. The people were fed and entertained, yes, but they no longer ruled. Their assemblies faded. Their votes were rituals. Their tribunes became tools of the princeps. Domina, the series, shows the world not as a rebirth of order, but as a woman's negotiation with the ruins of the Republic. And today, we walk a similar line. Populists promise sovereignty, but centralize power. They champion the people, but silence dissent. They attack institutions, courts, parliaments, press, not to reform them, but to dominate them. That's what happened in Rome, and if we are careless, it's what will happen again. We need to remember what Cicero warned, that liberty is not the indulgence of the crowd, but the rule of law and the restraint of power. The Populares began as reformers. They ended as autocrats. And if we forget that, we too may exchange our republics for emperors and despots and tyrants.